The birds used to sing her name. Adaora. The sun always kissed her cheeks with a mother's warmth, and the moon danced for her dreams. She was the pride of her village, the only daughter of Chief Obiajulu, a man so respected that even whispers bowed before him. Until he left on a business trip to Brazil and never came back. It took just 30 days for her life to fall apart. Her stepmother, Madam Nkechi, declared Chief Obiajulu dead. Without proof. Without a search. Without tears. The very next day, Adaora was stripped of her room, her clothes, her toys, and her title. She was no longer the chief's daughter. She was the maid of the house. Her stepbrothers mocked her. Her stepsisters slapped her. And Madam Nkechi's eyes never blinked unless it was to scold or strike. Every morning, Adaora swept the compound barefoot. Every night, she slept in the corridor beside the kitchen, using her late mother's wrapper as a pillow. But her heart refused to surrender. Years passed, but Adaora never stopped listening. Behind every wall, she heard whispers. Behind every door, she suspected secrets. One day, while cleaning the hallway near her father's old study, now permanently sealed, Adaora overheard Madam Nkechi speaking to a stranger. "We told them he drowned, yes, in Lagos. I made sure no one searched the girl. She knows nothing. She is just a broom with legs." A broom with legs? That night, Adaora wept quietly as the wind echoed her name from the locked room. The next morning, Adaora tied her late mother's necklace around her neck, a beaded amulet she hadn't worn since childhood. The moment it touched her chest, she felt a strange warmth. Later that day at the village market, while selling groundnuts for her stepmother, she met an old blind man. He grabbed her wrist. "You bear the moonchild's mark," he whispered. "He walks with lions, he lives." He gave her a small, carved stone before disappearing into the crowd. That night, Adaora studied the stone. It looked like a key. Curiosity led her back to the sealed study. She tried the stone against the floor tiles and discovered a loose slab. Beneath it was a narrow hole, deep and dark. She lit a candle and crawled in. There, under her father's study, was a small bunker filled with files, photos, and a dusty voice recorder. When she pressed play, her father's voice filled the air. "Adaora, my child, if you're hearing this, I didn't make it back. But I promise you, I tried. They wanted me gone. Not just for wealth, but for silence." Tears streamed down her cheeks. Her father wasn't just missing. He was haunted. That week, Adaora found more secrets in the bunker: letters from a woman named Isabel in Brazil, photos of her father in military uniform, and pages about something called Project Lionheart. That night, during a thunderstorm, she saw a figure watching her from the hill outside the compound. She ran toward it, but it vanished. In its place lay a journal wrapped in animal skin. It had her name on it. She opened it. "My Adaora. Never forget that you are my light. If the darkness swallows me, your truth will remain. Follow the lion. Follow the heart." In a hidden drawer within the study, Adaora discovered sketches of old trade routes and maps with marked coordinates that led to the riverbanks. A journey began in her dreams, and her waking days followed suit. She took quiet trips, met fishermen who once walked with her father, and began hearing stories of deals gone wrong, of enemies with foreign names, and an artifact smuggled for safety. The artifact, she learned, could unravel everything. Whispers filled the village. Some said the chief had been spotted in Lagos. Others said he had died in prison abroad. Adaora waited. She hoped. She prayed. Until one day, a convoy of black jeeps arrived. They parked at the compound gates. The villagers gathered. And then she saw him. Tall, with grey streaks in his beard and eyes full of fire, Chief Obiajulu returned. Madam Kechi collapsed. Adaora dropped her tray of cassava. "Papa," she whispered. He opened his arms. "My moonchild." She ran. She cried. The house trembled with the storm of truth. The chief ordered arrest. His old allies, business partners, and Madam Kechi were taken into custody. But Adaora was more interested in redemption than revenge. She met with each person who betrayed her, demanding the truth instead of vengeance. Each story peeled back another layer of the conspiracy. She documented it all. A future book. Maybe. A warning. Definitely. Among the records recovered, Adaora found that one of her father's closest friends, Uncle Jide, had been the real architect of the downfall. Trusted like blood, he was a shadow that crept in unseen. She confronted him. With tears. With fury. With grace. And when he broke, confessing everything, she forgave him. Not for him, but for herself. Adaora started a foundation for abandoned girls. She wrote books. She gave speeches. But she never forgot the feeling of scrubbing floors with bloodied hands. They called her the Queen of Dust and Dreams. And every night, on the same veranda where she once wept alone, she sat beside her father. He would hold her hand and say, "You were never just my daughter. You were my hope, my roar in silence." Years passed. Adaora aged with grace. She expanded her father's legacy across nations. She built schools, orphanages, and art centers. She traveled to Brazil, met Isabel, and uncovered the final secrets. The missing files. The names of the killers. And the truth that saved a generation. In every country she visited, they called her by a different name. In Nigeria, Lioness Reborn. In Ghana, Ada the Wise. In Brazil, Filha de Luz, Daughter of Light. Her legend lived longer than time.